Love pumpkins but hate the mess of carving? Follow along as I show you how to make a spooky EVA foam pumpkin that doubles as a creepy mask and lasts all season. At 100% printing scale, the pumpkin circumference should be approximately 100 cm and around 27 cm high. Please refer to the scaling chart if you need to make it smaller or bigger. Now print all the pages at the correct printing scale. In addition to the pages with patterns, there are extra ones explaining symbols, assembly order, and more. Some of the patterns exceed a standard page size, so each page needs to be trimmed along the edges. Follow the lash lines with the scissor symbol. Align the corner marks on adjoining pages and connect them all with a clear adhesive tape to create one large canvas. Grab a pair of scissors and cut all the individual patterns. Just follow the black outlines. Don't skip this next step. With the pattern notcher, mark the position of all registration markers. They are extremely important to help you align and glue all parts correctly. There are only 4 patterns in this project, but patterns number 1 and 2 need to be transferred multiple times. For this project, I would recommend to use 6 or 8 mm medium density EVA foam. Let's start with pattern number 1. Place it over the foam, mark the outline and transfer all the symbols. One of the longer edge needs to be cut at standard 90 degree and the other one requires a variable cut. So make sure to transfer all the edge cutting symbols. As I mentioned before, pattern number 1 needs to be transferred multiple times, so just keep tracing it over and over again until you have 8 copies. Follow the same steps for pattern number 2. Place the paper pattern over the EVA foam, trace all edges, transfer all the symbols and repeat until you have 8 copies. Don't forget to transfer patterns number 17 and 18. They will create the top and bottom caps of the pumpkin. And this is where the fun part starts. Time to cut all parts, so a sharp box cutter is essential. Replace the blade or use a sanding stone whenever you feel it's no longer doing its job. Most of the edges required a standard 90 degree cut. The blade should be perpendicular to the foam surface. To cut parts number 17 and 18, I'm using my circle cutter, but this can be done with a box cutter as well. Remember when I mentioned a variable angle edge? This is it. You have to start with a standard 90 degree at one end, then gradually change the angle to plus 45, continue down towards the other end, and at the very end transition from plus 45 back to 90 degree as shown in the video. Best if you practice this first. There is a separate video guide on how to read the edge cutting symbols and use my bevel samples technique. Highly recommend giving it a watch if you need more help to cut this edge properly. Once everything is cut, arrange all parts in groups and check if nothing is missing. There should be 8 copies of part number 1 and number 2 and also 2 additional circles, parts number 17 and 18. Time to glue the parts. Remember to work in a well-ventilated area and wear appropriate PPE. I always use contact cement. The trick is to apply just enough, spread it along the surface and wait till almost dry to the touch. Once pressed, will bond parts forever. The best approach is to glue parts in pairs. Start with parts number 1 and 2 and then glue the other copies until you have 8 sets. Now glue 2 sets together to create a 4 parts module and continue until you end up with 2 halves of pumpkin, each made out of 8 individual parts. At this stage, I recommend gluing part number 17, the smaller circle, to one of the halves. To glue both halves, you have to be very precise. Keep your eye on the registration markers and remember to force the foam so the markers from adjoining parts will meet. Continue pressing the edges together all the way around. Placing one hand on the inside of the foam might help with the process. If you want to make it into a scary pumpkin lantern head, you don't have to glue the bottom circle. In fact, you might need to cut a bigger opening to slide your head in. Now draw and cut some scary looking eyes and mouth and test how they fit. Once happy, transfer to the foam surface and cut along the lines. In no time your plain pumpkin will be transformed into a scary looking Halloween mask. Back to the pumpkin. It can be a bit tricky to glue the bottom circle, so just take your time and try to align everything as best as possible. Don't worry if the pumpkin deforms and loses its shape. Just slide a metal straw into it and inflate like a balloon. If you want to give the pumpkin an even more natural look, you can use foam clay to sculpt and add the steam. Foam clay can be easily attached to EVA foam by applying a small amount of water to both surfaces. Press gently and use your finger to smooth any imperfection to get a nice transition between parts. And here it is, my EVA foam pumpkin, perfect decoration or a scary headpiece for your next Halloween party. The link to this DIY foam pattern and many more is in the video description below. Hope you had fun watching and crafting along. Stay tuned for more.